apparently, I didn't say it, apparently, the story of Ra, the sun god, was what influenced the story of Jesus, the son of God. I don't know. Someone said look it up. Not me.
Hello, and welcome to Afro Mythos, the podcast where you learn all things African mythology,
folklore,
and culture.
We're your hosts, Solomon and Adwoa, Adwoa and Solomon, whichever way you want to say it.
And hope everyone is doing good. What have we been up to? Well, we've done some stuff with the National Gallery, which is quite exciting, coming in July.
We're so excited to show you all some brilliant content and some great collaboration, you know. Definitely. We've also done some work with the EA, which, if you sort of watched or listened to the last episode, you would have seen that great interview with Abu Bakar Salim. I just think we should get into interviewing, because I feel like that was amazing.
I want to have more Mythos convos.
Yeah, so if you're trying to have them Mythos convos with Afro Mythos, I want to see you.
Let's get some more friends on there. Let's get demystifying. Let's get indigenous folklorists. Let's get Piper.
Exactly.
Let's do it. Let's do it, guys. Let's do it, guys. Like, everybody's gonna run to their DMs.
And as you can see, we have these amazing visuals. Aren't we looking gorgeous? Isn't she looking beautiful? Absolutely ravishing.
Thank you.
If you're not watching the YouTube episode, which should be out now, I don't know what you're doing. Subscribe as well and make sure that you hit that like button, because although you've not watched the episode, we know you're gonna like this. Come on. So in today's episode and over the next few episodes, we'll be going over some influential African empires. But first, let's get an understanding of what an empire is. An empire is a political unit where a single entity governs a group of territories and people. So empires are characterized by things like extensive trade, networks, military conquest, and cultural exchange.
And Africa has been home to numerous empires throughout its history, each contributing to the continent's rich and diverse heritage, from the ancient civilizations of Egypt and Kush to the medieval empires of Mali and Songhai.
African empires is an umbrella term, you see, used to refer to a number of pre-colonial African kingdoms with multinational structures incorporating various populations and polities into a single entity. So usually through conquest,
So long before the Europeans and others arrived in Africa, great kingdoms and empires ruled over many parts of the continent. Their rulers presided over magnificent courts where art, music, and dance flourished. Their merchants traded in gold and salt and other goods to faraway countries, and the last of the powerful African kingdoms came to an end during the colonial era. However, some do still exist today.
In today's episode, we'll be talking about the empires of Egypt, Kerma, and Kush. So these kingdoms influence each other in so many ways, sharing and competing in culture, religion, technology, and of course they have rich mythology.
Of course.
So, pop quiz. Which region of Africa are they located in? So this is for you. Oh, I heard you.
I didn't know if it was for me or for them, but
okay, for you as well.
It can't be for me.
Yeah, it can.
North Africa.
Yeah, northeast, so around the Nile area. The Nile. The Nile. Anyway.
Okay, so in our upcoming episodes, we'll continue exploring other influential African empires from Asante to Zulu. Solomon, directing at you, and you listeners, can you name any other African empires?
Before I say any, if you can name any other, put it down in the comments, wherever you can put comments or reviews. Any other empires? So we got the Homie.
The Homian,
not the Homie, we have, so you already said the Zulu.
And Asante.
We'll say the Congo.
Congo with a K.
K.
There's the Ouagadougou, which was the Ghana Empire.
Yes. We would say, I've already said Mali. Mali?
Yeah, Mali.
Okay.
But you said Mali.
Okay.
Did you say Mali? No, you didn't.
I've said Mali.
You said Mali, but whenever I'm asking you this question.
Okay, so, Mali.
Yeah. Okay.
Songhai. For now, let's start with the earliest kingdom in Africa. also known as one of the first civilizations in all of human history, ancient Egypt.
So, ancient Egypt is one of the oldest and most influential civilizations in human history. Like Solomon just said, almost everyone, in the UK at least, would have learnt about some aspect of ancient Egypt or be aware of it. It's like the most popular African mythology, pantheon, you know.
If you didn't, did you go to school? Did you go on a library trip to the National Gallery? To National Museum?
National History Museum,
That's
yeah.
Did you spend a night at the museum? Did the things in the museum come to life?
So, in around 3100 BCE, which stands for Before Common Era, the lands of Egypt were divided into what was called Upper and Lower Egypt. So each division had its own customs, deities, and rulers.
So around 4,400 to 4,000 BCE, Upper Egypt housed the Badarian culture and was subsequently followed by the Naqada culture in 4,000 to 3,000 BCE. So both of these cultures had their own pantheons of gods and goddesses, many of which laid the groundworks for the pantheons of deities that would later be prominent in the dynastic Egypt.
Yeah, so deities like Hathor, which is an ancient Egyptian deity associated with love, beauty, music, dance, motherhood, and joy, were introduced from the Badarian culture. The Naqada introduced deities such as Min, which is a fertility god, Bat, an early cow goddess, Neith, a war and hunting goddess, Seth, the god of chaos, Horus, the falcon god of kingship. Yes, these names may sound very familiar to you.
They really should, because, you know, it's part of your Egyptian education, you know. So in Lower Egypt, the Bhutto Mahdi culture, which existed around 4,000 to 3,000 BCE, venerated Wadjet, the cobra goddess, Neith, who is one of the oldest deities in ancient Egyptian mythology, known as a goddess of war and hunting. Horus, god of the sky and war, and early forms of Sekhmet and Bastet. So we should have these images floating somewhere.
Yeah, if you're watching on YouTube, you'll have visual aids.
You're having the experience of a lifetime.
Experience.
Yeah, okay.
Full experience. So, how were Upper and Lower Egypt divided? Well, it's a bit counterintuitive. You would think Upper would be like north and Lower would be south, right?
Yeah.
But Upper Egypt was actually located in the south. Yeah.
Damn. Okay, you know what? That tripped me up.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I even thought that this
during
was
the
also
research, it was like
corrected.
Yeah.
Okay, fair.
So Upper Egypt is located in the south, characterized by a narrow valley along the Nile, while Lower Egypt was in the north, encompassing the wide delta region where the Nile spreads out and drains into the Mediterranean Sea. So I think we'll cover this later, but it's not like they weren't named because of the compass, north, south, east, and west. It was more because of the way the Nile River flows.
That's fair. So the terminology upper and lower derives from the flow of the Nile, from the highlands. Sorry, the flow of the Nile. From the highlands
of... funny, the flow of the Nile?
Yeah, the flow of the Nile, as in like...
denial.
Yeah. From the highlands of East Africa northwards to the Mediterranean Sea. So the period of Upper and Lower Egypt, also known as the Two Lands, was the final stage of the prehistoric Egypt.
So these two kingdoms were united in 3000 BCE by Menes, who is now known as Narmer. But each Upper and Lower Egypt region maintained its own regalia. So the Hejet or white crown for Upper Egypt and the Deshret or red crown for Lower Egypt. Pharaohs, however, would wear a double crown called a pushant, with each half representing each kingdom. So the pharaohs would wear a crown that's half red and half white, just to signify that, you know, these two Upper and Lower Egypt are now one.
We are one at the head.
Yeah.
Multicultural things. Yeah. So the unification of Upper and Lower Egypt under Narmer marked the beginning of a powerful and centralized state. So Narmer's name is immortalized on the Narmer palette, a ceremonial engraving showing him wearing the red crown on one scene and the white crown on the other. So symbolizing his rule over a unified land. Yeah,
because, you know, he brought these two together.
So he had to, do that photo shoot.
Show it somehow. Got to do a photo shoot.
I'm not just going to show one. I'm going to do both. You're going to see both sides.
So with that, let's chat a bit about the dynastic I can't say this word for some reason. The dynastic or dynastic? Dynastic.
Nah.
English has left me.
Okay,
oh
fair
Lord.
enough.
Okay, let's chat about that anyway. Those dynastic periods of ancient Egypt, and of course the key pharaohs. We'll call these periods Old, Middle, and New Kingdom.
Okay.
It's not just us calling it, that's what they're called, okay? So let's start with Old Kingdom, which was also known as the Age of the Pyramids, as it includes the Great Fourth Dynasty, where King Sneferu perfected the art of pyramid building, and the pyramids of Giza were also constructed in this period under Kings Khufu, guys, please, the pronunciations
Khafre.
are literally, yes, Khafre and Menkaure.
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 I don't know.
So these were the three pharaohs or kings that the pyramids of Giza were constructed under. So historical records of this period are very scarce, and historians regard the history of the era as literally written in stone, like you had to be there kind of thing, you know?
Those who were there were there.
Yeah.
You know?
And the architecture also has a big part to play on like documenting the era as well, because obviously, as we said, it was the age of pyramids. So all these monuments and inscriptions that we have today can help construct the history of the Old Kingdom. The Great Pyramid of Giza, which was built during this period, is the only one of the structures at Giza, which was considered one of the ancient seven wonders of the world. Can you name the other wonders of the world?
Stonehenge.
Yeah.
There's a waterfall. Niagara Falls?
Niagara Falls? I don't know. Leaning Tower of Pisa, I think is one.
Yeah. Eiffel Tower?
Eiffel Tower, I think is one.
The Liberty.
Statue of Liberty.
We're going to have to fact check this.
It's the Big Ben one? I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah. To be fair, when I used to... in my days, when I used to play, you know, those civilization games, like Empire Earth, Age of Empires.
I'm gonna say yeah, but I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, you would like one of the goals of it is trying to build some of these great
empires.
Yes, to try and build one of these great wonders as early on as possible for everyone, so you could flex on everyone.
That sounds like a fun game.
So yeah. Yeah, we should play it. It's nice.
But yeah, you don't know the wonders.
Nah, because I never got there.
The world's smallest violin.
Okay.
So this, the Great Pyramid of Giza was stood at 481 feet. The Great Pyramid was the tallest structure on Earth built by human hands until the Eiffel Tower. So fun fact, actually, the Great Pyramid was originally covered in highly polished Tura limestone, which reflected the sun's light and made the pyramid shine like a gem.
It was glistening. Yeah. So next, we have the Adam administration. Okay, so next up is the Middle Kingdom, which is considered as a Renaissance period. That's a Beyonce reference. In ancient Egypt, during which older artistic conventions, cultural principles, religious beliefs, and political systems were revived and reimagined, you know? So we can't talk about the Middle Kingdom without mentioning the first intermediate period. So the first intermediate period, known as a dark period in the ancient Egyptian history, was a time of political instability and chaos. So after the fall of the Old Kingdom, centralized authorities collapsed, leading to a period where local rulers held power over various regions. So this era was marked by famine, civil strife, and a lack of a centralized control. So rival dynasties in Heracleopolis and Thebes fought for dominance, eventually leading to the unification of Egypt under the Theban pharaoh Mentuhotep II of his name, who established the Middle Kingdom. So many Middle Kingdom monuments were poorly preserved, which contributes to the era's lack of modern prominence, because Egyptian temples dedicated to deities were often replaced by succeeding kings.
That sounds so long.
Yeah, but it's one of those ones where it's like, you know, if you No, I'm not using that reference.
Okay, let's carry on.
You know what it is? I think of, the episodes in the 90s babies when I think Fred was talking about if imagine you go over to someone's house,
yeah,
and you're sleeping over,
yeah,
and in their bed is the crater as in like the memory foam shape of their ex. You're getting a new bed, aren't you?
There's a difference between going to the store and buying a new mattress to constructing a whole monument with your hands. There was no cranes, nothing. If we do architecture, you know how long that is.
If you account for the economical crinkum and inflation of back in the day, the same £200 that you're using today could be thousands back then, which could be used to build a pyramid.
Okay, so these temples were replaced by succeeding kings every single time. Okay.
Yeah, so almost no Middle Kingdom temples remain standing. Many Middle Kingdom pyramids were constructed with mud brick cores that eroded after their limestone casing was removed by ancient stone robbers. So the lack of attention to Middle Kingdom monuments is unfortunate, as it was a period of beautiful artwork renderings and with great skills and sensitivity.
And lastly, there's the New Kingdom, known as Egypt's imperial age, spanning more than 500 years and encompassing dynasties 18 to 20. So the New Kingdom is often considered to be the peak of ancient Egyptian culture, the highest of the high.
From the highest of the high.
So the early 18th dynasty rulers were warrior kings who carried out numerous military campaigns to expand their borders and areas of control, both to the north and to the south. A new royal burial site, now known as the Valley of the Kings, was initiated in the hills of the west side of the Nile from Thebes. One of the most stunning structures from the ancient world is one of these memorial temples, which stands against the dramatic cliffs at Deir el-Bahari, just opposite the Valley of the Kings. So this terraced temple was built by Hatshepsut, the powerful female ruler who controlled Egypt for roughly 20 years at the height of the 18th dynasty.
You did an amazing job there, because I remember when we were researching this, the amount of time we said Hatshepsut was crazy. I'll show you the B-roll.
But yeah, this is just telling me that I need to go to Egypt. We need to go to Egypt. We need to see these temples and pyramids. Like, I just want to see them because the pictures look so beautiful. Imagine being there, like, wow. Yeah.
If you've been there, let us know your experience. Are they as beautiful in person?
Yeah. So, fun fact, Hatshepsut, the name that Saul said we struggled with, but now hopefully we got right, was one of the only few female pharaohs in thousands of years of ancient Egyptian history.
Did someone
doing
say
it for the girls?
Equality?
Yeah, girls at work.
Girl.
It's not equality. One of only female in thousands of years.
Girls in pharaohs. Girls in tech.
Girls in tech. So she expanded trade networks to Punt, which is modern day Somalia, bringing back riches such as gold, myrrh, and exotic animals. Hatshepsut was usually carved or drawn as a man, complete with muscles and a beard. I'd like to say women can have muscles too, even beards. But anyways, so that was the artistic tradition for pharaohs. That's why she was carved like that. But she
so
always,
it's the one where they have the
long, the long thing coming from their chin.
Looks like a sword.
Yeah, that's a beard. That's a beard.
They braided that thing.
She always made sure that the art included a reference to being a woman, such as daughter of Re or His Majesty herself. I like that because, like, who got you there? Yeah. So when she died in 1458 BC, Egypt would not see a powerful female ruler for another 1,400 years, and this ruler was Cleopatra.
Is that Beyonce?
Beyonce?
It's a damn shame that it took that long.
Yeah.
So ancient Egypt was a beacon of cultures and technological advancement that still influences us today, to this very day. So the invention of the hieroglyphics, the invention of hieroglyphics, a complex system of pictorial writing, allowed for detailed record keeping, religious texts, and monumental inscriptions. So the Rosetta Stone, discovered in 1799, was key to deciphering these ancient symbols, bridging the gap between ancient and modern understanding of Egyptian culture.
Imagine if we never had a translation for hieroglyphics. What would we think?
They'll be making everything.
They'll be making
up.
everything up.
Everything. They'll be you think it's bad them saying that aliens made it now? They're gonna say these aliens that were 2-dimensional made everything.
Crazy, right?
They'll be mixing up everything, Just mess up.
So the construction of pyramids, not by aliens, temples and tombs showcase their architectural genius. The precision of the Great Pyramid of Giza is so advanced that even with modern technology, replicating it would be a massive challenge. Even with the tools we have today, we couldn't replicate the pyramid.
Just can't do it.
And
the best we can do is the Louvre.
And people did that with their hands, brick by brick. Mm-hmm. Crazy, right? The alignment of the Great Pyramid with the cardinal points of the compass is incredibly precise. Modern measurements show that it deviates only slightly, demonstrating that the Egyptians were so sophisticated in their understanding of astronomy and engineering.
They knew what they wanted.
They were ahead of their time.
Mm-hmm. Egyptians also made significant contributions to medicine, including surgical practices, anatomical knowledge, and the use of medicinal plants. Mm-hmm. So the Edwin Smith papyrus, dating back to around 1600 BCE, is one of the oldest known medical texts detailing surgical procedures and treatments.
Wow.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Now you know.
Now let's move on to the stuff of the stuff, which is Egyptian religion and the pantheon of Egypt.
It's not Afro Mythos without the mythos.
Exactly. Come on, that's why you're here. So Egyptian religion was deeply polytheistic, with a pantheon of gods governing every aspect of life. So let's explore some of the most influential Egyptian gods.
Let us know.
Let us explore them.
And which ones do you know?
Which ones do you know? Yeah.
Put it down in the comments now before you hear it.
So we have Ra, the sun god. And central to their belief system, Ra was believed to travel across the sky by day in the solar bark and through the underworld by night, battling the serpent Apophis to ensure that the sun would rise again. This daily cycle symbolized life, death, and rebirth. Temples dedicated to Ra were built with astronomical precision to align with the sun's path. They said this is the sun god, so it has to be 10 out of 10. So the temple of Amun-Ra at Karnak is aligned so that during the winter solstice, the sun rises directly between the temple's pylons, illuminating the sanctuary. Okay,
2 things. One, apparently, I didn't say it, apparently, the story of Ra, the sun god, was what influenced the story of Jesus, the son of God. I don't know. Someone said, look it up. Not me. I didn't say it. They just said that there's similarities between the whole, birth, rebirth, underworld, resurrection. Something about it influencing the Easter story.
To be fair, it makes sense because there's so many similarities across so many different pantheons, not just in Africa, but across the world. So
some stories gotta, be inspired by something. And secondly, when talking about the alignment of the sun's path to the temple at Karnak, it sort of reminds me of, Avatar, when he goes to Avatar Roku's temple and he can only speak to the Avatar at the summer solstice. So when the sun is at the highest point, that's when things come to life.
Yeah.
Osiris, Isis, and Anubis. So the story of Osiris, the god of the afterlife, who was murdered by his jealous brother Set and resurrected by his wife Isis, symbolized the eternal struggle between order and chaos. So Anubis, the god of mummification, played a crucial role in funerary practices. So guiding souls to the afterlife and overseeing the weighing of hearts ceremony.
Yeah.
So do you know what that is?
It's this beautiful ceremony, I believe, depicted in American Gods where your heart is weighed against a feather. Mm-hmm. And if your heart is lighter than the feather, you get to go to heaven, quote unquote.
Yeah.
And then if it's heavier, then you don't.
Yeah, you're tortured or whatever. Yeah, it's also shown, now that I remember it, in Moon Knight, which I need to watch again because it's heavily
I think it is Moon Knight.
by...
Sorry,
it's also done in American Gods.
Thank you. Because I've definitely seen it before somewhere, but I've watched both of them.
Yeah, no, it's Moon Knight and
we
American
need to finish
Gods.
That.
Yeah, we do definitely.
Yeah, and then we have Horus, the falcon god. So Horus is always depicted, or usually depicted, as a falcon or a man with a falcon's head. So Horus is the god of the sky and kingship. He was considered to be the protector of the pharaoh and the avenger of his father Osiris. The eye of Horus symbolizes protection, royal power, and good health.
If you want to know more about some of these stories, if you go to the episode where we talk about
Nephthys?
Yeah, Nephthys, the lady of the house.
Yeah.
Something like that. We'll put the actual link to the episode somewhere here. But we sort of dive into more on the stories surrounding them, which is so juicy.
All the juice.
This can't say infidelity. This can't say situationships. All of that. You gotta listen.
Yeah.
So, in terms of beliefs in the afterlife, so Egyptians believed in an elaborate afterlife where the soul would journey through the underworld, face judgment, and if deemed worthy, enjoy eternal life. Mummification was a critical practice to preserve the body for this journey, reflecting their deep-seated belief in immortality.
There's always something in pantheons to do with bringing something with the dead so that they're able to actually enter the afterlife. Like, so whether it's the Greeks with the coins on their eyes or this, like, you always have to bring something, it seems.
Yeah. I think what I like about it is that it gives the living who are grieving something to sort of do for the dead.
Yeah.
Through their process. So you believe that you're helping them, doing your bit in that funeral process.
Yeah.
Which I think is nice.
Yeah,
you know?
it's nice.
Apart from when I think it's like slaves or servants had to be buried with like the pharaohs to go to the afterlife with them, even if they were very much alive. Yikes. So yeah, you're coming with me.
I mean, on the other hand, if you do believe in the afterlife, then I guess for you, it's like, oh, yay, at least. It's like that episode of Rick and Morty.
You'll be serving the pharaoh in the afterlife.
Oh, okay, never mind.
Yeah.
I thought it would be like that.
No,
you know
so
that
you can still
episode
be
in
working.
Rick and Morty where that guy wants to be killed so that he can go to hell? Do you remember that episode?
Good death. Yeah, it's like a Valhalla type.
I need to rewatch Rick and Morty.
Yeah,
okay.
Indeed.
But yeah, we could go on and on and on and probably even do a whole podcast about ancient Egypt. But that's all for now because we're going to move on to the neighboring civilizations, starting with the Kingdom of Kerma.
Yes, so the Kingdom of Kerma. So, as we continue our journey down the Nile,
down the Nile.
I'm not going to get over it.
We're in denial.
We arrive at the ancient Kingdom of Kerma, located in what is now modern-day Sudan. Flourishing around 2500 BCE, Kerma was one of the earliest established urbanized centers in Africa. So its proximity to ancient Egypt set the stage for a complex relationship filled with both conflict and cultural exchange.
Kerma's strategic location across the Nile River made it a crucial hub for trade and cultural exchange. Situated just south of Egypt, Kerma served as a bridge between the sub-Saharan Africa and the Mediterranean world. So this unique positioning allowed the Kingdom of Kerma to develop a culture that was influenced by its northern neighbor and also maintained its own distinct traditions and practices.
Definitely. So, the Kingdom of Kerma rose to prominence largely due to its strategic geographic position and control over trade routes. So, the fertile floodplains of the Nile provided abundant resources, which supported the thriving agricultural society. So archaeological findings, such as the impressive Deffufa structures, reveal the kingdom's architectural ingenuity and religious practices. So these massive mud brick buildings used for ceremonial processes are amongst the most significant architectural remains in Africa, showcasing the complexity and sophistication of Kerma society. So 3 known Deffufa's exist. The Western Deffufa at Kerma, the Eastern Deffufa, and the third little-known Deffufa. So, fun fact, the Western Deffufa,
I don't know how to say this word.
I don't know how to say it, Deffufa.
Yeah, I think it's Deffufa.
Deffufa.
Yeah.
The largest so the Western Deffufa, the largest of these structures, stands over 18 meters tall.
That's pretty tall.
That's impressive.
And like, as you look at these pictures, just remember these were all handmade. Like people, it was brick by brick. There was no machinery to help. There was no like modern methods of construction. It was literally brick by brick. That's what makes it even more impressive, in my opinion. So the Kingdom of Kerma was a formidable political and military power. Its relationship with Egypt was marked by both conflict and cooperation. Kerma was renowned for its skilled archers who were so proficient that they were often recruited as mercenaries by the Egyptian army. The Egyptians even referred to the land of Nubia as Tasseti, meaning land of the bow.
Damn, that's cool.
So Katniss, coming for you.
So the religious beliefs of the Kerma people were deeply intertwined with their natural environment, as they venerated a pantheon of deities associated with the Nile and fertility. So let's go over a few of these deities. So we have Adeche, one of the most prominent deities in later Nubian mythology. So Adeche was a lion-headed warrior god associated with strength and warfare. Although more commonly linked with the kingdom of Kush, Adeche's worship likely began earlier and reflects the martial culture of the Nubian people.
I just wish we could, like, paint everything.
Yeah, it's like every sentence just feels like it should be a painting.
Every time we do an episode, or every time we research something, I'm just like, I just want to paint it. Like, I can imagine it in my head, and I just wish we could paint everything. And that's...
So, do you know how you guys can help make this dream come true? There's this thing called like Patreon, which we're going to show the link below. So if enough of you sign up to our Patreon, we will have enough free time to research more, and to bring you more stories earlier, quicker, more researched, and paintings as well.
Yeah, like who doesn't want that?
So it's not just for me. It's not just for Adwoa. It's not even just for you. You're doing a service to the world. And I just think that that's definitely worth doing.
Yeah.
It'll be for as little as, what, it's like £3?
Yeah, I think that's
$3 or something like that. Yeah, it's less than, the coffee that you're going to be getting.
Honestly, we just want to bring you guys more stories, like keep these stories alive, especially through our art as well.
Yeah, definitely. So if that does interest you, do... We'll see you on Patreon.
We'll see you on Patreon.
Definitely.
So we have Amon, the god of the sun and air. Amon was revered in both Egyptian and Nubian cultures. So the Kerma Amon may have been adapted to fit local traditions, symbolizing the intermingling of religious beliefs between Nubia and Egypt.
And then we have Didon, a god of wealth and resources. So Didon was particularly important in Nubia. So he was associated with the prosperity brought by the Nile and the riches of Nubia's gold mines. So they had gold. They had gold. They had gold. They had so much gold that they said that it had to be a god in that.
And then we have Sebu Meka, a protective god of procreation and fertility. Sebu Meka was often depicted as a guardian of the home and the community as well, ensuring the well-being and continuity of the people. So,
Kerma's burial practices often included elaborate tombs and grave goods and human sacrifices, believed to serve the deceased in the afterlife. So, this indicates a belief in the afterlife where social status and earthly roles continued beyond death.
I think
which is so peak.
It's so peak because I saw something on TikTok that's just so relevant. And I'm pretty sure it was Kerma, but there was this girl that was visiting and she was going on a tour around like their temples and stuff. Mm-hmm. And then this guy, the tour guide was like, so don't quote me on this, but they used to like have willing sacrifices and like cut them open from like half and half, mm-hmm. from like top to mm-hmm. down, pull out their heart. Mm-hmm. And like so that the heart was still beating at least 3 times for the deity, and then they would throw the body to the crowd, and the crowd would like try and like, grab bits and stuff because it's like
trigger warning.
Yeah, now that's a sacred person. Sorry, trigger warning.
So now that's the sacred person.
No, yeah, because the person offered themselves up as a sacrifice. So now, like, their body is sacred. So if you try and grab parts of it, then it's like secret.
Okay, right.
And you can use that as like offerings.
Fair enough.
But it was all willing. I mean, there were willing participants in it. So, yeah. The relationship between Kerma and Egypt was dynamic and multifaceted. There were periods of intense conflict, particularly over control over the Nubian gold mines. As always, there's always someone wants control over...
It's always resources.
Yeah. Because these gold mines were highly prized by the Egyptians. So, however, there was also times of peaceful trade and cultural exchange. So, Egyptian artifacts found in Kerma and vice versa indicate a flow of goods, ideas, and even people between the two civilizations.
One of the most intriguing aspects of Kerma-Egypt interactions is the influence seen in arts and burial practices. So, Kerma elites adopted some Egyptian artistic styles and symbols whilst maintaining their own cultural identity. So, as we move forward, we'll see how these interactions and exchanges shaped the region, setting the stage for the rise of the Kingdom of Kush.
So around 1000 BCE, the center of power shifted to Napata, marking the rise of the Kingdom of Kush. Unlike Kerma, the Kushite rulers embraced fully Egyptian culture, especially in their royal and state religious practices. The chief deity of Kush was Amun, and Amun was associated with kingship and celebrated at temples in Napata. The Kushites honored Amun through grand temples and extensive rituals, reflecting their deep integration of Egyptian religious tradition.
Definitely. So one of the most remarkable periods of Kushite history was the 25th dynasty of Egypt, also known as the Kushite dynasty. You know, it's good when they had to rename it. They got a rebrand. That's how good it was.
New logo.
So around the 750 BCE, the Kushite king Kashta launched a conquest of Upper Egypt, and his son Pyre completed the annexation, establishing Kushite rule over the entire Nile Valley. So, this dynasty is famously known for the Nubian pharaohs who ruled both Kush and Egypt.
So, Taharqa, one of the most notable rulers, became pharaoh in 690 BCE. Taharqa was a warrior pharaoh who defended his realm against the mighty Assyrian Empire. His reign was marked by significant building projects, including temples to Amun-Re and the revival of pyramid building after a millennium.
So, the religion of Kush was a fascinating blend of indigenous beliefs and Egyptian influences. So, the chief state deity was Amen. So, but other gods such as Apedemak, the lion-headed god of war, and Horus, depicted with a falcon's head, were also worshipped there. So the fusion of cultures is evident in the relief carvings at the Lion's Temple at Naga. So if you're there, you can see it. You can see it there. So where these deities are depicted alongside the Nubian king Nata Kamani and his queen Amanetore.
That's cool. Yeah, it's nice to keep hearing these deities' names overlap between different empires and dynasties. It's just like they're all kind of shared and copied and pasted and changed a little bit, and like
you sort of see how they're, you know, they sort of adapted or absorbed different parts of the kingdoms that they ruled over or won over.
So the Kingdom of Kush was not only a political and military power, but also a center of cultural and economic achievement. Marori, the new capital after Napata, became a major center of iron production and a key trading hub connecting Africa, the Mediterranean, and Asia. The Meroitic period saw the construction of grand palaces, temples, and industrial buildings, reflecting the city's importance.
So, Meroe is particularly famous. If anyone knows how to say any of these things that we've definitely mispronounced, put it down in the comments with, you know, phonetically. You know, I don't want to have to tell you guys what phonetically means, but I just don't want you to just come there with rudeness. Like, just Like don't come here unhelpfully. Like actually help
Oh.
me. I'm asking for help.
Oh my God.
Anyway, Meroe is particularly famous for its pyramids, which are more numerous than those in Egypt. So the city had a complex social and economic organization with an economy based on agricultural trade and its iron production. So the Meroitic script, developed around the 2nd century BCE, is one of the earliest known African scripts.
Wow.
Yeah.
Crazy. One of the most iconic symbols of Kushite culture is their pyramids. The earliest royal pyramid tombs were constructed at Nuri, with subsequent pyramids built at Meroe. These pyramids, although smaller than the Egyptian counterparts, were steeply angled and richly decorated. They served as the final resting place for the Kushite kings and queens and were a testament to the civilization's architectural ingenuity and religious beliefs as well.
So the interaction between Kush and Egypt were complex, involving both conflict and cultural exchange. So the Kushite adopted many aspects of Egyptian culture, including religious practices, art, and architecture. However, they also maintained their own unique identities, as seen in their unique and distinct pyramid designs and the worship of deities like Adeche.
Yeah. So the legacy of the kingdom of Kush is profound, and despite its decline around the 4th century BCE, due to the rise of the Aksumite Empire, the cultural and architectural achievements of Kush have left a lasting mark. So the fusion of the Egyptian and other African elements into their society created a unique civilization that influenced subsequent cultures in the region. Yeah. Interesting, right?
No, that was amazing.
Yeah.
Haven't we learned something today?
We learned lots.
Yeah, you should have. If you're listening.
If you don't know, now you know. So that's a wrap for today's episode. And in our next episode, we'll continue our journey by exploring other influential African empires.
Thank you so much for joining us today. And if you've enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to our podcast and share it with your family and friends. It really helps, you know. And, you know, make sure you hit that subscribe button and the notification bell if you're watching on YouTube and seeing our lovely faces. You are looking amazing. I can't stop looking at your face. Like, I'm trying to read my script, but I can't stop looking at your face.
Okay.
Anyway.
Oh, thank you.
Your support means the world to us, and it helps us bring more exciting content to you.
Yeah. I need to gather myself. So don't forget to stay tuned for the next episode. We have a lot more fascinating history to uncover and mythology, of course, as well. So for those who want to dive deeper, we have our podcast notes available on our Patreon, as well as our ever-growing list of book recommendations in our online library, which is also available on our Patreon.
Do you need more reasons?
Like, our podcast notes are everything you need. Like,
yeah,
it's got all our research, it's got the pictures.
And it's just like a little guide for you to sort of like read through. And so you will know. It's not that you think you know. Yeah. And you can even flex on other people with the information you have.
You can indeed.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. That's all.
Okay, so until next time, and as always, thank you for taking the time to explore the wonderful world of African mythology with us, your hosts, Solomon and Adwoa.
Adwoa and Solomon, whichever way you want to say it. Have a great day, night, evening, morning.
Have a good time.